working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Thailand. Hello, Esther. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm Esther Odanga from EPC Thailand Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. After admitting that he is still in a state of shock more than a week after entering the presidential race, Senator Christopher Bongo said he felt that perhaps it's not yet time for him to push through with his sudden decision.
Filipinos may be required anew to wear face shields as many countries scramble to prevent the entry of the new Omicron COVID-19 variant.
And Singapore is now starting contact tracing for airport staff who may have come into contact with 2 travelers infected with the Omicron variant who transited through Changi Airport on their way to Australia from South Africa.
And President Duterte called on the public to use the heroism of God Andres Bonifacio as a guiding post in overcoming the nation's challenges, including the pandemic.
After admitting that he's still in a state of shock more than a week after entering the presidential race, Senator Christopher Bongo said he felt that perhaps it is not yet time for him to push through with his sudden decision. Despite having zero political background and not coming from a political family, he said he's lucky to be a provinciano who was given the chance to serve the country and the people. Let's listen in.
Nagdalo po kami ni Pangulong Duterte. Andres Bonifacio, the president who never was. Bonifacio had every great opportunity to lead our country as our president after leading a revolutionary movement that started our quest for liberty. But destiny had something different for him. Sa ngayon, handa po akong magsakripisyo alang-alang sa kapakanan ng ating bayan at ni Pangulong Duterte. Simpleng probinsyano lang naman ako na binigyan po ng pagkakataong magsilbi sa taong bayan. Hindi ko po inambisyon na maging presidente. Puro serbisyo lang po ako dahil ang bisyo ko po ay magserbisyo. Hindi naman ako politiko. Hindi rin po ako nanggaling sa malaki o kilalang pamilya. Hindi po ako nasanay sa madumi at mainit na klase ng politika. Marahil po, hanggang dito lang muna ako sa ngayon. Ayaw rin po talaga ng aking pamilya. Kaya naisip ko na siguro, hindi ko pa panahon ngayon. In the past few days, I realized that my heart and mind are contradicting my own actions. Talagang nagre-resist po ang aking katawan, puso at isipan. Tao lang po ako na nasasaktan at napapagod rin po. That is why I am withdrawing from the race.
Argentina's justice system will investigate allegations of war crimes committed by the Myanmar military against that country's Rohingya minority under a court ruling upholding the principles of universal justice. The appeals court decision, which AFP has seen, overturns a lower court ruling rejecting a request for an investigation by the British-based Burmese Rohingya organization, or BROOK. A 2017 army crackdown on Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, which the UN says could amount to genocide, has triggered an exodus of more than 740,000 members of the community, mainly to Bangladesh. The legal premise of universal justice holds that some acts, including wars crimes and crimes against humanity, are so horrific they are not specific to one nation and can be tried anywhere. Argentina's courts have taken up other universal jurisdiction cases in the past, including in relation to ex-dictator Francisco Franco's rule in Spain and the Falun Gong movement in China. Proceedings against Myanmar and its leaders are already underway at the International Criminal Court and the UN's International Court of Justice. 6 Rohingya women refugees in Bangladesh had given remote testimony to the court in Argentina. One of the complainants said they had all been sexually assaulted and that many of their family members had died as a result of the repression they had suffered in August 2017, the court recalled. In their decision, the appeals judges said that the investigation and eventual judgment of this type of crime is primary responsibility of the state. Brooke President Tun Knin in a statement said the ruling represented hope not just for us Rohingya, but for oppressed people everywhere.
While the Philippines said it would temporarily suspend plans to allow fully vaccinated tourist entry in a bid to prevent the variant taking off in the country. Manila had hoped to revive the country's battered economy by allowing jab tourists entry as of Wednesday. Let's listen in.
Over the weekend, we have been making important announcements due to the recent developments with regard to the new COVID-19 variant, which the government has been monitoring closely. Yesterday, Sunday, the Interagency Task Force, or IATF, was convened and approved several resolutions. Una, inaprubahan ng IATF ang paglagay sa Austria, Czech Republic, Hungary, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Belgium at Italy sa ilalim ng Red List simula November 28, 2021 hanggang December 15, 2021. Bukod pa sa South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Eswatini at Mozambique na una na nating inanunsyo noong Sabado. Ano pong ibig sabihin nito? Hindi pinapayagang makapasok ng Pilipinas ang lahat ng mga pasaherong galing sa Red List sa loob ng nakaraang 14 na araw, anuman ang kanilang vaccination status. Tanging mga Pilipinong pabalik ng Pilipinas via government-initiated or non-government-initiated repatriation at bayanihan flights ang pinapayagang makapasok. At isa sa ilalim pa rin sila sa umiiral na protocols sa entry, testing at quarantine para sa Red List countries, jurisdictions, or territories. Sa mga pasahero naman na in transit na and all those who have been to the above-mentioned Red List within 14 days immediately preceding arrival to the Philippines, who arrive before 12:01 a.m. of November 30, 2021, that's about 12 hours from now, pinapayagan silang makapasok sa Pilipinas subject sa entry guidelines. Ngunit, kailangan nilang sumailalim sa facility-based quarantine sa loob ng 14 na araw with testing on the 7th day, with day 1 being the date of arrival. Kahit na magnegatibo ang resulta ng kanilang RT-PCR test, 14 days pa rin sila facility-based quarantine. Sa mga pasahero naman na dumating na sa Pilipinas bago pa ang November 28, 2021 at kasalukuyan na nagka-quarantine, alinsunod sa classifications ng kanilang country of origin, as the case may be, kailangan nilang sumailalim sa kanya-kanyang testing protocols at sumunod sa pinatutupad na quarantine rules. Sa mga pasahero naman na kasalukuyang nasa biyahe pauwi ng Pilipinas mula sa mga bansang aking binanggit, Pilipino man o dayuhan, hindi sila maituturing na galing sa mga bansang iyon kung sila ay namalagi lamang sa airport, hindi lumabas at hindi na-clear for entry ng immigration authorities doon. At pagdating sa Pilipinas, kailangan pa rin nilang sumunod sa pinairal na testing at quarantine protocols. Pangalawa, inaprubahan din ng IATF ang pansamantalang suspension ng testing at quarantine protocols for countries, jurisdictions, and territories classified as green. Ito ay effective immediately hanggang December 15, 2021. Maliban sa mga bansang classified as red, ang testing at quarantine protocols para sa lahat ng inbound international travelers in all ports of entry ay kailangang sumunod sa testing at quarantine protocols ng yellow list countries. Sa pasahero mula sa green list na dumating bago ang November 28, 2021, isa sa ilalim sa kanila ang quarantine protocols na ating pinapatupad base sa kanilang country of origin upon the date of their arrival.
Resolution 15A was supposed to take effect on December 1 and stay in effect until December 15. The government has eased virus restrictions in recent weeks as the daily infection rate hovers at the lowest level since the beginning of the year and the nationwide vaccination rate increases.
Filipinos may be required anew to wear face shields as many countries scramble to prevent the entry of the new Omicron COVID-19 variant. This was recommended by the members of the Interagency Task Force, or IATF, for the management of emerging infectious diseases during the meeting with President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday night. Despite the decrease in COVID-19 cases, Secretary Duque said there is still a need to prepare the healthcare system capacity for the worst-case scenario, especially with the spread of the heavily mutated Omicron variant in other countries. Let's watch this.
Kailangan talaga paigtingin po natin ang atin pong PDITR strategy. I think there are three major interventions that we need to emphasize to our people. Number one is the enforcement of the compliance to the minimum public health standard. So yung sinasabi niyo po, sir, mask, at now, ako, ang talagang face shield ay under the 3C's context. In the closed spaces, mag-face shield. In crowded areas. In close contact settings, just like in the transport sector, where people, as we have increased the carrying capacities of our public utility vehicles, I think now, with the threat of this Omicron variant, it will be an added layer of protection.
Hindi naman po natin talaga totally na-discard yung face shield. In-integrate lang po natin doon sa alert level system na sa alert level 1 to 3 ay voluntary po. Alert level 4, may discretion ang LGU to impose. Alert level 5, talaga mandatory. So, with the policy na naging voluntary siya, at alert level 2 po, yung buong Pilipinas, except isang probinsya lang na nasa alert level 3, yung Apayo po. Pero nakita po natin na buwaba din naman yung number. But of course,
during a special session of the global health body that started Monday, the World Health Organization, or WHO, warned that if another major surge of COVID-19 takes driven by Omicron, consequences may be severe. The WHO stated the overall global risk related to the new VOC, or variant of concern, Omicron, is assessed as very high.
The emergence of the new Omicron variant shows that COVID-19 is not done with us and demonstrates the need for a new international treaty to prevent pandemics, according to WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus at the opening of the special session of the World Health Assembly. Nations are meeting in Geneva from Monday to Wednesday to discuss an international agreement setting out how to handle the next pandemic, which experts fear is only a matter of time.
More than any humans in history, we have the ability to anticipate pandemics, to prepare for them, to unravel the genetics of pathogens, to detect them at their earliest stages, to prevent them spiraling into global disasters, and to respond when they do. And yet, here we are, entering the third year of the most acute health crisis in a century, and the world remains in its grip. This pestilence, one that we can prevent, detect and treat, continues to cast a long shadow over the world. The emergence of the highly mutated Omicron variant underlines just how perilous and precarious our situation is. We don't yet know whether Omicron is associated with more transmission, more severe disease, more risk of reinfections, or more risk of evading vaccines. Scientists at WHO and around the world are working urgently to answer these questions. We shouldn't need another wake-up call. We should all be wide awake to the threat of this virus. But Omicron's very emergence is another reminder that although many of us might think we're done with COVID-19, it's not done with us. We're living through a cycle of panic and neglect. Hard-won gains could vanish in an instant. In less than a year, almost 8 billion vaccines have been administered around the world, the largest vaccination campaign in history.
Countries agreed to set up an intergovernmental body charged with drafting and negotiating a WHO accord on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. Sunday's draft decision, secured after countries agreed to compromise, should be formalized during the meeting.
Now let's go over to Vietnam, where a 9th grader girl in Hanoi died a day after getting her first dose of Pfizer vaccine. We have this live update from Ralph Clarence Halo. Hi, Ralph.
Hi, Esther. Good afternoon. Here's the latest news in Vietnam. A 9th grade girl in Tuong Tin district of Hanoi died the day after her first dose of Pfizer vaccine and became the second adolescent in the country to die of complications from the COVID vaccine. She got the shot on Saturday morning as part of the city's effort to vaccinate those under the age of 18. And by night, she had a high fever. Her relatives tried fever medications on her, but it didn't work. She was rushed to the Tuong Tin District General Hospital and was then transferred to Bac Mai Hospital, Hanoi's largest medical facility, but she died on Sunday morning, according to Nguyen Viet Binh, head of the district's Nikkei commune. According to Vu Cao Quang, Deputy Director of the local Department of Health, the reason of her death has yet to be determined. The Ministry of Health's expanded program on immunization office stated that it will comment to the media after consulting with experts about the matter. Hanoi began vaccinating adolescents on November 23 and progressed to 14-year-olds on November 27. So far, it has vaccinated 276,816 children. A 16-year-old boy in northern Bac Giang province who received a Pfizer vaccination 4 days prior was also found dead on Sunday. It was identified that the cause of death was anaphylactic shock. In 30 provinces and cities, more than 2 million adolescents aged 12 to 17 have been vaccinated, accounting for more than 23% of the population. And that's the latest news here. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you, Ralph, for all your updates there in Vietnam. Please stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Esther. I am Ralph Clarence Kaila, reporting live from Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. We live in interesting times.
Thanks, Ralph. Esther and I will be back right after this break.
pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. May lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Ang mga nanay natin nakakalito. At mukhang nalito siya sa instructions.
20,000 kaya!
Pinapalo kita kasi ayaw kitang nasasaktan. Di ba nakakalito? Hindi niya alam kung saan siya nagising eh.
Wala ako Ano nga pala susi ng sasakyan? Mulan pa pala sa labas.
Tuloy mo ang lakad mo. Hindi, ambon lang yan. Ngayon, ready na ba kayo? Simulan na natin ang yun, yes or no. Funniest Nakaball Videos.
Welcome back. President Duterte on Monday night said he favors mandatory vaccination against COVID-19 should the government's COVID task force start to implement the policy. Again, let's listen in.
As a worker of government, also charged in the overall operation of the government, I may agree with the task force if they decide to make it mandatory. It's for public health. No, kung ayaw mo, huwag kang lumabas. Kung ano mang problema na ayaw ka magbabakuna, huwag kang lumabas ng bahay. Kasi pag nahawa ka, diretso hawa uli. Now, there is no guarantee that you will not get contaminated again. That has been said several times. Ang importante kasi dito, mabakuna because isang hawa ito, hawa lahat. Itong mga tao na ayaw talaga magpabakuna because of whatever, religious or I mean no offense. Pero yung ayaw magpabakuna, madali lang man yan. Mamili ka. Matagal kang mabuhay o gusto mo nang mamatay. Diyan sa dalawa na, pag kumapit yung COVID na yan, hindi pa natin alam itong Omicron, patay na. Mamili kayo. Early demise or live longer.
Meanwhile, the president also suggested keeping COVID-19 vaccination sites open daily to accommodate more individuals who are too busy to get inoculated on weekdays. He also renewed his call for the public to participate in the country's 3-day nationwide vaccination drive from November 29 to December 1.
Meanwhile, the government will update the list of foreign nationals allowed to enter Indonesia in response to the spread of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Santiago Uno, has said. He said the new variant has been reported to have spread to Hong Kong and Belgium, he noted. The Indonesian government will prioritize the health and safety of its citizens to avoid a third wave of COVID-19 by regulating travelers who can enter the country. Earlier, the government, through the Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, had changed the duration of quarantine for foreign citizens or WNA and Indonesian citizens or WNI traveling to Indonesia from abroad from 3 days to 7 days. The effort was taken as an anticipatory measure against the spread of the Omicron variant detected in South Africa, which has a fast transmission rate, he explained. Uno said he hopes that the new variant will not spread to Indonesia in the midst of the tourism sector revival. Based on official data, Indonesia welcomed 126.5 thousand foreign tourists in September 2021, a decline of 15.08% compared to September of 2020.
Meanwhile, Vietnamese Prime Minister Phan Minh Chinh has tasked the Ministry of Health to closely monitor and provide update on the evolution of COVID-19 variant Omicron in order to design the proper and effective response measures. The government chief also asked several ministries and agencies to monitor entrants with travel record to countries' territories that have found cases of the Omicron COVID-19 variant in order to prevent the spread in Vietnam. The variant, which is called B11529, was first reported to the World Health Organization from South Africa on November 24, according to a post on the WHO's website. Now, this variant has a large number of mutations, and some of which are concerning. Preliminary evidence suggests an increased risk of reinfection with this variant as compared to other variant of concerns. The number of cases of this variant appears to be increasing in almost all provinces in South Africa. In response to the new variant, the Vietnamese Ministry of Health proposed that the government should suspend flights to and from 7 southern African countries, which is South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Eswatini, Lesotho, and Mozambique, and halt or stop the entry for those with travel record to these countries. The variant Omicron has yet to be found in Vietnam so far, according to the Health Ministry. As of November 29, Vietnam recorded 1,224,110 COVID infection cases, including 974,724 recoveries and 25,055 deaths.
Thailand implemented temporary additional measures and restrictions for travelers from the countries, namely Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe as follows. Let's watch this.
That I mentioned, along with the globally, and these temporary additional measures are as follows. Firstly, the issuance of the new Thailand Pass QR code to all travelers from the mentioned countries will be temporarily suspended until further notice. Number 2, travelers who have already received the Thailand Pass QR code and are scheduled to arrive in Thailand before the 1st of December, which is in just around 2 days, will be subject to mandatory 14-day quarantine and will be responsible for the expense of the said quarantine. And the procedure upon arrival is, of course, including RT-PCR tests three times during the mandatory 14-day quarantine. So there's a 2-day window, actually, before the 1st of December for those who have already received the Thailand Pass coming from these countries that I mentioned in Southern Africa. And number 3, travelers who have already received the Thailand Pass QR code from these countries and are scheduled to arrive in Thailand starting from the 1st of December 2021 onwards will not be permitted to enter the kingdom, except for Thai nationals. Of course, this is the ban for the aforementioned countries, the temporary suspension until further notice.
While the government is considering suspending the decision to replace RT-PCR tests with antigen testing for air travelers following the emergence of the COVID-19 Omicron variant, Deputy Public Health Minister Satit Itotecha said on Monday. The deputy minister said RT-PCR would be more effective than antigen testing in keeping the Omicron variant out of Thailand. Apisamay Siriranson, a spokeswoman for the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, said the CCSA's decision on Friday to replace RT-PCR tests with antigen tests might change now that the COVID-19 situation is changing. Travelers from 8 countries in South Africa will be denied entry from December 1 in a bid to keep Thailand free of the variant.
Meanwhile, Singapore started contact tracing for airport staff who may have come into contact with 2 travelers infected with the Omicron variant of COVID-19 who transited through Changi Airport on their way to Australia from South Africa, according to their health ministry on Monday. 2 individuals described as being from Southern Africa flew from Johannesburg to Singapore on a Singapore Airlines flight November 27 and had tested negative for COVID-19 on November 26 in South Africa, according to the ministry. They later flew onward to Sydney on another Singapore Airlines flight, where they tested positive for the Omicron variant. While most of the travelers for the Singapore Airlines flight from Johannesburg had remained in the transit area until their departure for Sydney, 7 disembarked, according to the ministry in a statement. And 6 of them are in isolation at a dedicated facility, and 1, a close contact of an infected individual on the flight, has been quarantined. Singapore earlier restricted travel from Southern Africa and delayed the launch of vaccinated travel lanes with the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia over Omicron concerns, as the 3 countries are connection points for travelers from Southern Africa traveling to Asia. The flight in question from Johannesburg arrived before the restrictions took effect.
Meanwhile, most of the areas in the country, including Metro Manila, will remain under Alert Level 2 from December 1 to 15 to prevent the entry of new Omicron variant of COVID-19, Malacanang announced in a statement on Monday night. The Interagency Task Force, or IATF, approved on Monday, November 9, the recommendation to place the National Capital Region under Alert Level 2. Cabinet Secretary and Acting Presidential Spokesperson Carlo Nograles said in a press statement. Also placed under Alert Level 2 are Cordillera Administrative Region, or CAR, Benguet, Abra, Kalinga, Baguio City, Mountain Province, and Ifugao. The Region 1, Dagupan City, Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, La Union, and Pangasinan. Region 2, Batanes, Cagayan, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, and City of Santiago. Region 3, Angeles City, Aurora, Bataan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Olongapo City, Pampanga, Zambales, and Tarlac. Region 4A, Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, Quezon, and Lucena City. Region 4B, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, Puerto Princesa City, Marinduque, Romblon, and Palawan. Region 5, Albay, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Sorsogon, Masbate, and Naga City. Region 6, Aklan, Antique, Bacolod City, Capiz, Guimaras, Iloilo, Iloilo City, and Negros Occidental. Region 7, Bohol, Cebu, Cebu City, Lapu-Lapu City, Mandaue City, Negros Oriental, and Siquijor. Region 8, Biliran, Eastern Samar, Leyte, Northern Samar, Ormoc City, Southern Leyte, Tacloban City, and Western Samar. Region 9, City of Isabela, Zamboanga City, Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga del Sur, and Zamboanga Sibugay. Region 10, Bukidnon, Cagayan de Oro City, Camiguin, Iligan City, Lanao del Norte, Misamis Occidental, and Misamis Oriental. Region 11, Davao City, Davao del Norte, Davao de Oro, Davao del Sur, Davao Occidental, and Davao Oriental. Region 12, General Santos City, North Cotabato, Sarangani, South Cotabato, and Sultan Kudarat. Region 13, Butuan City, Surigao del Norte, Agusan del Sur, Surigao del Sur, Dinagat Islands, and Agusan del Norte, and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, Basilan, Cotabato City, Tawi-Tawi, Sulu, Lanao del Sur, and Maguindanao. Meanwhile, the province of Apayao shall be placed under the Alert Level 3 from December 1 to 15.
In other news, the Philippine Army has condemned the New People's Army or NPA for attacking government troops serving under a community support program or CSP in Las Navas, northern Samar that injured a soldier. Colonel Perfecto Peña Redondo, commander of the Philippine Army's 803rd Infantry Brigade, said soldiers were in the area on Monday to help resolve issues being exploited by the terrorist group as well as to deliver the much-needed basic services. The attack will again disrupt the delivery of services for the people in this area, according to Peña Redondo in a statement sent to reporters on Monday night. The CSP is the military's people-centered program meant to bring peace and development in conflict-affected barangays. It's also an initiative to bring the government closer to the people through the immediate delivery of basic services. The NPA attacks were held simultaneously in San Jose, Ipao, and Sagod villages at about 10:48 in the morning on the same day. And it prompted the troops to return fire, causing the terrorists to scamper to the forested areas, according to Peña Redondo. Wounded during the attack in San Jose village was Private First Class Daryl Besañez, who was rushed to the Catarman Doctors Hospital for treatment. He is now in stable condition. Former rebels disclosed that the group behind the attacks was under the Front Committee 1 Sub-Regional Committee Emporium of the Eastern Visayas Regional Committee under Guillermo Jerusalem alias Kagimo.
As the spread of the new COVID-19 variant Omicron continues in different countries, the Commission on Election, or COMELEC, on Monday, November 29, answered whether it is possible for the 2022 elections to be cancelled in case the new variant enters the Philippines. According to the COMELEC, the elections cannot be cancelled because it would be a violation of a free and fair election. Let's watch this.
What may unlikely, because when we say we cancel elections, that means that the conditions for free and fair elections don't exist, right? When you have a surge, that's not the case. You know, it's that people have to be extra careful, yes, but hindi nawawala yung possibility ng free and fair elections. So it's unlikely that we would not hold elections. Certainly not on a national scale, right? Remember, you're also talking about a nationwide election that's synchronized across the entire nation. What may be possible is that if, let's say, just the possibility, no, in one location, lahat ng BEI mo tinamaan ng COVID, wala kang ma-replace, then posible kang mag-cancel ng elections. Pero doon lang.
The Jakarta provincial government has planned to relocate low-income residents impacted by coastal flooding that frequented North Jakarta's regions to several flats. Several solutions that we have conceived to address the coastal flooding include residents' relocation to existing flats with unoccupied rooms, according to Jakarta Deputy Governor Ahmad Riza Patria, stated at the Jakarta City Hall on Thursday. He said a team formed by the North Jakarta Authority will assist the provincial government in determining the families eligible to join the first relocation phase and seek available rooms in existing flats in Jakarta to accommodate the families. The floods come at a time when Indonesia is already grappling with the highest caseload and death tally from COVID-19 in Southeast Asia and an economic recession, according to an NBC report.
In other news, a new $6 billion Chinese-built railway line opens in Laos this week, bringing hopes of an economic boost to the reclusive nation. But experts are questioning the benefits of a project that has seen thousands of farmers evicted from their land. Let's watch this.
การส่งมอบรถไฟลานสร้างในสุดนี้สุดที่มีความหมายสำคัญให้แก่สองชาติลาวและจีนจีนลาว
一个决定性的进展，也是中国“一带一路”倡议从老挝变陆锁国为陆联国战略对接的一个标志性的成果。
The 414-kilometer or 260-mile route, due to open on December 3, took 5 years to construct under China's trillion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative, which funds infrastructure projects aimed at increasing Beijing's clout globally. The train route will connect the Chinese city of Kunming to Laos capital, with grand plans for high-speed rail to ultimately snake down through Thailand and Malaysia to Singapore. Infrastructure-poor Laos, a reclusive communist-run country of 7.2 million people, previously had only 4 kilometers of railway tracks. But now sleek red, blue, and white bullet trains will speed along the new line at up to 160 kilometers per hour, passing through 75 tunnels and across 167 bridges, stopping at 10 passenger stations. Despite local optimism, some Laos watchers are concerned about the long-term viability of the project. The issue for Laos, though, is whether their economy, their private sector is positioned to take advantage to the transport system, Australian National University lecturer Gray Raymond told AFP. The project has already left some 4,400 farmers and villagers reeling after they were forced to surrender land. Many have faced long delays receiving compensation or have been paid inadequate amounts to Lao Movement for Human Rights, said in a report. Two-thirds of Laotians have in rural villages toiling on the land. The minimum wage is around $116 a month. A reported $13.30 train fare from Vientiane to the border town of Botan has attracted some social media criticisms for being too expensive. And the news continues here in ASEAN in Focus. Alma and I will be back after this.
Samahan ang paborito nating barkada sa umaga. Magbibigay ng saya, tawanan, at iba't ibang pakulo sa inyong umaga. Busog pa kayo sa kaalaman, Tony knows, at updated sa umaarangkadang mga balita. Matutong kumita, magluto, mayroon ding sayawan at kantahan.
What? I am a good girl.
Ang programa na nagbibigay inspirasyon sa bawat kada all over the world.
Here in Net25, we are your fans.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng umaga. Dito lang sa Net25. At home kayo rito.
Welcome back. Indonesia's flag carrier Garuda Indonesia widened its net loss during the first 9 months of this year, citing liquidity pressures and uncertainties about the group's ability to continue as a going concern. For the first 9 months ended September 30 this year, Garuda Indonesia reported a net loss of $1.7 billion, a notable increase compared to a net loss of $1.1 billion last year. The airline's operating loss plunged to $1.3 billion against $1 billion last year. The negative financial outcome was attributed to the ongoing pandemic, followed by stringent travel restrictions, which has caused a significant reduction in air travel and has a major adverse impact on the group's operations and liquidity. The cash-strapped carrier has implemented measures in order to mitigate liquidity pressure, including negotiating with its creditors and lessors to obtain payment relaxations and positive rationalization of its staff members.
Meanwhile, British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, along with South Korean, Singaporean, and Vietnamese counterparts, attend ASEAN-Europe meeting, high policy dialogue in Hanoi to discuss various issues, including trade, the fight against COVID-19, and climate change. UK Foreign Minister Raab said UK have started talks to join CPTPP trade treaty. Let's listen in.
We warmly welcome the signal from ASEAN leaders that they will accept the UK's application to become a dialogue partner. We're starting negotiations to join CPTPP, and we've put a major focus on the Indo-Pacific in the context of the G7 presidency that we host this year. And I think joining the CPTPP will provide a boost economically for all sides. It's a high-quality, win-win multilateral trade deal. But it's also a boost to the principle of free trade as we work with others to try and help shape and reinforce future trading rules. I think it's also an important signal that CPTPP and the region can send to other countries.
ASEAN partners have continued to do our best to keep our economies open and to integrate our economies and to continue to stand for the cause of free trade, despite the political opposition accentuated by the fears brought on by COVID-19.
The CPTPP free trade deal was signed in March 2018 by Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam, and took effect at the end of that year, following ratification by more than half of 11 signatories.
And staying in that summit, Charles Michel, President of the European Council, said EU strategy for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific sends a strong political signal. Let's take a look.
The Indo-Pacific region is increasingly important for the EU, and we are already a top investor in this region, and we have decided to reinforce our strategic focus and actions with the region. Our new EU strategy for cooperation with the Indo-Pacific sends a strong political signal. We want to work closer together on green, digital connectivity and security issues.
The 13th ASEM took place following earlier postponements due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The previous 12th ASEM summit took place in Brussels in October 18 to the 19th back in 2018. Established in 1996, ASEM is an informal platform for political dialogue and cooperation, which now brings together 53 partners, making it the biggest international leaders gathering after the United Nations General Assembly. It consists of 51 partner countries and 2 organizational partners, the EU and ASEAN. Of the 51 partner countries, 30 are in the European group, 27 EU member states, Norway, Switzerland, and the UK. The EEAS coordinates the European group together with the Council presidency, which is an informal secretariat role.
President Rodrigo Roa Duterte on Tuesday called on the public to use the heroism of Cat Andres Bonifacio as guiding post in overcoming the nation's challenges, including the coronavirus pandemic, in his speech at the Pinaglabanan Shrine in San Juan City during Bonifacio's 158th birth anniversary, Duterte emphasized the importance of remembering Bonifacio's heroism as it continued to provide a sense of hope, determination, and optimism for today's generation of Filipinos. Let's take a look.
Remembering the heroism of our gallant forebears, which Bonifacio provided the sense of hope, determination, and optimism for today's generation of Filipinos, especially as we surmount difficult challenges in our time, including the COVID-19 pandemic. The bravery and patriotism of God Andres Bonifacio and many of our forebears who fought against foreign dominators must serve as our guiding post in beating the odds that hinder our progress as a people and as a nation. I believe that by revisiting and honoring our past, we will be able to impart a stronger sense of nationhood to the present and future generations of Filipinos. As we commemorate these events, I invite every Filipino to become a hero like Bonifacio by participating actively in our nation-building efforts, especially those challenging times when we have to secure our nation's health, safety, and wellness. In this light, I call on our kababayans to emulate God Andres Bonifacio's strong sense of civic duty, courage, love of country in our daily lives, even in the simplest ways. May we be challenged to give our very best for the benefit of our people and nation.
Dito po nagtatapos ang ating seremonya kaugnay sa
Thank you, Esther, for keeping me company today. As always, keep safe.
Same to you, Alma. You always keep safe, and always my pleasure. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nation. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Esther Adanga from EBC Thailand Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back tomorrow for more updates. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
Malalayong lugar ang kanilang narating para